All right, folks, we are back with more Street Fighter 6, doing something again a little bit interesting, a little bit different. Gonna be trying to do some more varied Street Fighter 6 content over the course of December here. And I mean, it's easy to start off with right now. I think this video is gonna come out probably pretty soon. If you're a VOD watcher, it'll come out pretty soon, pretty close to when the actual patch notes come out. I believe the patch is meant to drop December 2nd. And I believe the patch notes are supposed to come out like December 1st, like tomorrow night, December 1st at like 10 p.m. my time or something. Regardless, with that being said, there's been a lot of talk about Zangief is, listen, no one knows for sure. No one knows for sure, but, you know, the general sentiment is that Zangief is probably going to get nerfed. And listen, maybe he won't. That's great. We're here to talk today about possibly what might be, what in my opinion, are, if Zangief is going to get nerfed, you know, what might be like reasonable things to nerf on him, what things might be a little bit harsh, and what I think is just, you know, the whiners one, the people just like, you know, no matter, even when Zangief was not very good in Season 1, they would still complain about him. People just like hate fighting grapplers. Maybe their voice got too loud and Capcom listened, and they did things that I think are just unreasonable nerfs, right? So that's kind of the general, we're going to kind of split things into three categories, going in like increasingly horrific order. If you know, as you're a Zangief man, you're reading the patch notes that might be coming out tomorrow there. So yeah, that's kind of the general conceit of this. And you know, if I missed anything, if there's something that you think that you know would be a reasonable nerf, or something you're scared of happening or something like that, feel free to mention it in the comments. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit, it's kind of talking about, you know, it's kind of like begging for my life a little bit. It's like, you know, mentioning here, okay, if you have to nerf him, could you do it this way, please? Like, only hurt him a little bit. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah, real quick, I guess, before we get started, if you like this kind of stuff, be sure to like the video. All that helps out a lot, especially, again, over December, we're going to be trying out a lot of different SF6 contents. So, you know, any feedback is going to steer it in the direction of things you want to watch more. It's what I want to make. I want to make things you guys want to watch at the end of the day. But yeah, also, I do stream if you want to be live for all this. Now, with all that being said, link in the description to Twitch. To start off with things that I think actually are like reasonable nerfs that Zangief probably should get, right? Like the Zangief probably, to give you an example of like nerfs that Zangief's already gotten this season, I guess, to sort of give you some context. I think the knee nerf, right? Making knee go back to being unsafe on block if you space it out poorly, right? That's a great nerf. That needs to happen, right? I think that button was they made it a little bit too ham in the patch. Like if they didn't already do that, that would have been in the list on like reasonable nerfs, things you probably should change about Zangief, things you made a little bit too ham. As far as like things that I think were a little bit harsh and unnecessary, but like I can see it. This isn't like gutting the character or like doing anything that's like this was so unfair, but I think it was a little bit harsh. Is the headbutt nerfs, right? The headbutt scaling nerfs. I don't think that needed to happen, right? I think it was a little too harsh. It's okay. The character is still strong. It's not like anything horrible happened. But I think it was a little harsh. I've been on record saying this about the patch many times. The knee change, wonderful, beautiful, chef's kiss, had to happen. That move was stupid, and it was making me use it too much, honestly, because it was too good. The hurt box change even is a little bit more, but that's fine. Makes sense. They'll make knee less abusable. Great. The headbutt change, not so much. So with that context, as far as like other reasonable things that Zangief can get, sort of the perspective that I come from this is that Zangief is a grappler, right? Zangief is the grappler, in fact. Like, he sort of is, like, across the fighting game genre, Zangief is that guy, right? So with that in mind, when I think of grappler, I usually think of character who, you know, kind of slow, maybe bad defense. Well, bad defense depends. Sometimes command grabs are very good defensive options. But, like, beside, you know, relatively bad defense, but, like, when they get in, they kill you. They send you straight to hell, right? Like, the idea with the grappler is usually either overwhelm them. Grapplers are characters, I guess the idea is grapplers are characters that are built with very defined inbuilt strengths and weaknesses, right? There are lots of archetypes like this. Ryu is like a Shoto, right? He's designed to be like, he's kind of all around, so like actually tuning him power level wise is a little bit more confusing sometimes, right? Because like, he doesn't have like obvious bits where he's designed to be weak or designed to be strong, right? Zangief is not that. Zangief is designed to be very strong and scary in terms of he has like a true 50-50 like all the time when he's running his pressure. He's got infinite plus frames, especially in Season 2, right? In Season 2, his offense is super synergistic because, you know, he does like so much drive gauge damage, it makes you want to parry him. Then if you parry him, the throws do more damage, right? And the throws do so much damage you want to jump, but if you jump, his strike pressure is actually quite scary now. Like, he's horrifying up close. That's kind of the idea. But he's not, so the idea is with Zangief, usually, depending on what kind of character you're playing, are you either keep him away from you, and he can't really do too much, ideally, or you overwhelm him instead, and before he can kill you, you kill him, and you kind of use like his lack of a reversal and his general bad defense against him, right? And I mean, obviously, like, that kind of changes when he has this, but again, it's its own edge case. So things that, like, strengths of Zangief that kind of don't fit into those buckets are ones I think would be reasonable to nerf, right? And with that, I'm sorry, there's a lot of preamble, but I just want to, because we're just so like once I say things, it'll make a lot more sense, I think. And with that, I think this is one that I already mentioned a couple of times in some videos, but I think, hey, if Zangief's gonna get nerfed, something that I can understand that I think makes a lot of sense, right? I think this button's a little too ham. It's not the best jumping button in the entire game or anything, right? Jumping medium kick, but like this thing gets like real deep. It's not, again, it's not, there's like Jerry's got like a pretty crazy, like her little kick thing, right? Luke jump heavy punch, Ken jump heavy punch. There's lots of really crazy, it's not really a jump in button, but like Ed's like fucking sword that he swings out. I think it's like his jumping medium kick or something. It's like a huge horizontal aerial, right? This is a very good button. And specifically, it's a very good button on a character who, at least by my conception, probably should not be super duper good at like neutral skipping, right? And this is like actually like pretty, if I have a problem where I jump way too much on Zangief, even still, like people like, they have the anti-air super high on the mental stack, this thing will just beat you sometimes, right? Like he can hit you from so high up with this. Like if you don't have like a really good anti-air, like Ed, for example, struggles with this a lot, right? Like if you have a slower anti-air, or if you have a smaller anti-air that you have to like do a little bit later or something like that, right? Like this thing can be a real pain in the ass. I don't think it's like a huge problem as it is, but I think if something needs to be tuned down about Zangief, that seems reasonable, right? That button seems a little ham. That might just be a guy like a 1500 MR take, like at higher level, that button might not be very good. But I think I see Zangief's jumping like not as much as I do. Like when they jump, they use that button. Right? It's a very nice button for just like, and also, or alternatively, maybe what you can do is lower the reward on hit for that button, because you might notice that even like no matter how high I hit this thing up, at worst it's +7. Right? Which +7, of course, means you can go into Hellstab, right? From Hellstab, you get, like, pretty decent damage, right? And Lariat gives you some decent Oki, depending on where you are and stuff like that. If you're in the corner, it gives some very good Oki. So, like, I don't know about lowering reward, though. I think, like, Zangief's kind of entire thing is that he should be, the reward when he gets in should be high, right? That's kind of why I disagree with the headbutt nerfs. I think making it harder for Zangief to get in makes more sense to me than making him worse once he gets in. That's kind of his identity, right? So, that's one. In a similar vein, but I'm a little bit more concerned about these. But like they tuned down his stand medium kick already a little bit, a teeny bit, right? I guess you could do that a little for some of his other buttons. Again, it's a minor patch. They said like it's not going to be, okay, it's not minor. It's not going to be as big as the season 2 patch, but every character will have changes. And Zangief, just like the Terry patch, maybe Zangief will have the most changes and they'll all be nerfs and it'll be sad. But like, I'm kind of coming at this from the point of view of like reasonable things feel like, slight adjustments in the power of Zangief. And then you kind of like keep thinking about it as it goes. It's like, what that, like, slight range nerfs to like the crouch medium kick, the stand medium kick, the stand light kick, something like that. Might not be a bad idea. I mean, this is like on the borderline. Zangief has a special thing with his stand light kick where like this is the only gapless light block string in the game, right? So if you don't know, like a lot of light, like there's no other lights to my understanding. You can go like light, drive rush, light, and there's no gap here. And the reason this matters is because once you get into once people are a little bit higher level, everyone is doing like the EX-DP option select, right? Where it's like if you do a drive rush cancel, they will just let the DP rip. And it's going on Exalt. They let the DP rip, and if there's no gap, then they block it, and the DP doesn't come out, right? So they're fine. And if there is a gap, they EX-DP you, and they hit you, and they get a little bit of advantage, and you spent 3 bars on this drive rush cancel, and they spent 2 bars on the EX-DP, right? Very common OS once you get into like, like high, mid-level, or like low, high-level play even. It's not exactly like tournament player stuff at all. So with that in mind, Zangief having a light block string like this that's gapless is quite nice. Maybe you could consider this as like a bit of a this is like a bit of a neutral skip or something, since he is +1 now, which means, to be fair, +1 for Zangief. I mean, if he tries to SPD, your 4-framer will beat him depending on the spacing, right? Got Guilty Gear his first time playing Faust. Oh, nice. Yeah, Faust is a goofy boy. You should enjoy him. But yeah, so maybe you can consider this as like since it is a big button, maybe this makes it like a little too easy for Zangief to get in on people. You could put a gap here, I guess, like make this slightly more disadvantageous on block. I think the problem is that, again, if you make this 2-, it becomes like, you make this like -6, it becomes like punishable by most people for most spacings, right? So I don't know if like -5 probably makes this have a gap in it. If not, then, we can do the math right now, I guess. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that right now. We have other things to get to. But yeah, like if adding like 1 extra frame of recovery to this would make it have a gap there, then like that might be a reasonable thing to do as well, right? It takes away like one of Zangief's ways to kind of cheat his way in. It's not really, it's a big button. It's not like he's doing like burn knuckle or something, but like it's a big button, and he can drive rush into a gapless block string. maybe you can take that away. Again, the reasonable nerfs are all sort of centered around playing to Geef's, like, making Geef's weaknesses worse or making, like, strengths he shouldn't have worse, right? I don't think, I would not really consider it to be a reasonable nerf if you take away one of the strengths that makes him a character, right? Again, that's why I think Knee's a great idea. Knee's a neutral skip. It's a stupid neutral skip move. The fact that Geef could do this and always be safe is kind of stupid. And the fact that the hurt box on it was so small is kind of stupid. It's a good nerf. It's a good nerf. Is there anything else that I want to put in the reasonable category, right? I mean, I'll steal playing into the entirety of the character. Yeah. I did watch a Broski video where he mentioned just making like this thing more minus on block. Sure, yeah. I mean, why not? This is a bad habit anyway. You shouldn't be doing this. Like have like all these chop, like this chop follow up, for example, is minus 17, right? Yeah, like this follow up's probably a little bit too safe. Like it's minus 6. People, it's like a lot of people just don't know they can punish this, but like if you want to make this a little bit more negative, sure. That's not really a big deal. Again, like whenever I do this, it's a mistake. Like, you shouldn't be doing this as Geef very often anyway. The risk reward is just not good. Because what you're hoping on is that they mash after the first one and you frame trap them. Then you get 2 chops. It's not that much damage. It's not that good of Oki in the mid screen, right? And if they do punish you, eat like a full punish counter combo with like a medium usually. It's like it's not a good idea. But I'm gonna steal that one from Broski because I saw that video. But like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, otherwise, I feel like this is the problem. I feel like Geef is not like in dire need of nerfs, honestly. So I feel like I can't like off the top of my head here. I mean, I had some written down already. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that might be like sort of reasonable as far as like little touches to Geef? And it's not super coming to mind. Maybe it's like this Geef bias, you know, Geef main doesn't want Geef nerfed. But I kind of feel like, you know, he kind of does, outside of like getting in a little bit too easily, I feel like he kind of does what he's supposed to do, right? He's just like, they made his strengths quite strong, but I don't think they're incredibly so, right? As far as like, as far as like touching his defense a bit, I guess, okay, here's the one big thing, right? Is like, if you want to have Geef have bad defense, which is, if that is their vision for what a grappler should be, which is a reasonable thing, right? It's a reasonable thing to want a grappler to have bad defense. I mean, Geef sort of does, but one thing that I could see them touching, I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but I could see them touching, is jump cancel SPD, right? Geef, it's a very important thing in this game. Throw loops and just like throw pressure and Oki on throws is very important in general in this video game. And Geef does actually have like a pretty, it's not like the world's greatest one, probably like Cammy has a pretty good one. There's some better, Jung can kind of do like instant air EX legs in a similar way too. Blanca has his ball. But like there are lots of different like anti-throw options, and usually like characters having that is a big sort of notch in their belt, right? Because throw pressure, again, very important. So having a way to actually counter that isn't just like teching the throw hoping for the best is a good thing. And Geef has that. Geef has jump cancel SPD, and it's quite good. I'm not very good at it, but it exists. And at the times that I have done it in training mode, I can see the strength for sure. I don't know if I don't know even how they would go about like removing that. I don't know if they could. Maybe if they made it, I don't know, like tighter or harder to do or something, or I'm not sure, right? But if they want to touch that in some way, shape, or form, I can kind of see it. That'll be like pretty significant, right? Because I think right now, especially at a higher level, like Geef kind of being scary to throw loop is one of the biggest, like one of the strongest things about him on defense. But like if they wanted to touch that, that's like as far as I'll go and call it reasonable. I think that actually would be, if they made it like, if they removed it somehow, that'd be a huge nerf. That'd be a pretty big nerf, right? But like, if your conception is we don't want the grappler to have like good defensive answers against the universal offensive mechanics, then I get it. I think that's a big nerf. I think it could be reasonable. This kind of takes us out of the realm of reasonability now, right? So things that I would consider to be like harsh, things I would consider to be too harsh, not absurd, but like nerfs I could see happening that I don't think need to happen, right? And again, these are mostly going to fall into the category of tuning down Geef's strengths in a way that I think is unnecessary, right? I would rather them give him more weaknesses and make him more of like a counter-playable character than making his win condition less exciting, right? So, one of the big things they did in Season 2,
nerd.
Also, Bandit, thanks for the follow, man. Hope you're enjoying the video and the stream and all that. One of the big things they changed in Season 2 about Geef that made him much better, right, is just they made it so he just gets so much drive. Like, every single jump cancel SPD is a consequence of jump squat being cancelable, and changes that would change the character significantly. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they would like touch it at all, but like if they found some weird workaround, like hard code way to remove jump cancel SPD, I think it would be not great, but I from the point of view of trying to make the grappler's defense worse, I kind of get it, right? So one of the things, every move in Geef's kit, if you look at the Season 2 patch notes, he has so many changes, but so many of them are the same thing. It's like drive gauge increase on block or on hit increase to, you know, from 6,000 to 8,000 or from 2,000 to 4,000 or whatever, right? Geef just gains so much more drive gauge back now than he used to in Season 1, right? So if I put him on, like, you know, if I go into like this, right? Just like, even just like blocking his shit, right? Like he just gets so much drive gauge back just for playing the video game and running his pressure. And I think this is good because it makes it so that, again, Geef getting in on you is like a real lose condition. Because he's always done a shit ton of drive gauge damage with his moves, especially headbutt, right? Headbutt. Like, headbutt does like almost a full bar of drive gauge, and if you respect it too much, it can loop back into itself. And in some cases, off like Oki situations, like off of, like you can do like, you know, headbutt, hell stab, this, and then I set Ryu to, oh, I fucked it up, hold on. I was trying to go back to the training mode settings. If I set Ryu to block now, and I go, this is a true block string. This is 2 headbutts you have to eat. Well, it's not a true block string, sorry. It's a frame trap. You can DP this or super it, but you can't mash or you'll die, right? So like, that's 2 headbutts you have to eat or take a very big risk to get out of. Geef has always done a lot of drive gauge damage, and that was not really buffed in the patch. What they did buff was his drive gauge regain. Now he also just gets a shit ton back as he's doing this to you. If they wanted to like tune that down, again, like that like reverting some of those Season 2 changes, I'm not a fan of that. Because again, the point is, I think that, please explain a frame trap. Oh, and basically there is a gap here. So for example, this is a good one too, right? Let me real quick tangent. If I set Ryu to on block, if I set him to light punch, right? Bonk, bonk. Oh, I have to turn it on. Yeah. You headbutt, you hell stab. You see how we got counter hits? There is a gap. It's not a true block string. It's not like a gap, right? Or sorry, there is a gap. You can't hit a button in between the headbutt hitting and the hell stab hitting, but the gap is small enough that if you hit a button, no button you have will not get counter hit. That's what a frame trap is the idea. So yeah, like, if they wanted to revert the drive gauge, or like tune down the drive gauge gain on some of his normals, or like even go the other way and make it so he does less drive gauge damage on his normals, I think that's like, if they did it like a little bit, I think that'll be harsh. If they did it a lot, I think it'll be egregious, right? Because again, I think this is, now you're starting to like chip away at the fundamental strengths of the character and like the identity of the character. Because Geef right now is set up in a very cool way with his offense. Cool for the Geef player, not cool for the other guy. But like, you know, no one's offense should be fun for the other guy, otherwise the character's probably not very good. But he's set up in such a way, like I mentioned earlier, that like he does so much drive as you're blocking him, and he gets so much drive back as you're blocking him. It looks like if you try to mash, you die. Yes, exactly. He does so much drive gauge damage as you block him. He gets so much back as you block him that you don't want to block him. You want to either you want to mash, which might get you killed, or mostly you want to parry to get your drive gauge back. But then that makes the SPDs do more damage, and the SPDs do a lot of damage, so you want to jump. So his offense structure right now is very synergistic, and the thing that made it such was the changes in Season 2. Because headbutt hell stab being a big one too. Oh, but they're not going to remove this, right? Headbutt hell stab, they have made it better. So like, they're obviously not going the other way on that. But like, in Season 1, his strike game was just not that scary. So he didn't feel like a full, complete character in your face, right? He didn't get headbutt hell stab, and he didn't play around with drive gauge as well, right? So reverting this would, yeah, 1, reversions are not cool. I agree, Razzle. I think it's like, you know, eh. But 2, I think it was a good change, and reverting it just to make the guy weaker, I would not be a fan of, right? On a similar note, lowering any kind of damage on Geef, they've already done this with headbutt. If they double dip and like add scaling or lower damage on other things too, like I'm like, again, we're right now we're in the harsh cat. We'll get to stuff that I think would just be like, okay, you just listen to the guys bitching on Twitter too much, and this is like an absurd change in a second. But this I think is still a change I'm not a fan of at all. If they lower damage on Geef even more somewhere else, I don't say even more. Geef still hits really hard, but again, that's his point. The point is he gets in, he's scary, and when you guess wrong, he kills you. Either don't let him get in or bully him before he can get his offense started, right? So if they like, I don't know, they add like, God forbid, if they add scaling to like hell stab, if like hell stab gets like 10% combo scaling like additional or something, poof, right? Or like they just like lower damage on some moves, or you know, etc. It's like that. Any sort of damage reduction on Geef, I think would just not be a good idea. Come on, right? Like I already disagreed with headbutt, but now you've already done headbutt, it compounds. If they do the headbutt scaling change and they also add like scaling to hell stab, or they make like lariat do less damage, or I don't know, they make like the lights do less damage, something like that. It's too much. At a certain point, he just becomes, we go back to Season 1 Geef, where his strike game is just not scary, and the optimal thing is to hold up on him most of the time and shit like that, right? So like that's kind of that's a lot of different possible changes in one, but like any kind of damage reduction to Geef, I just wouldn't fuck with, I don't think. I guess, especially actually, if they're not gonna do this. I would be so surprised if they did this. But like this is like the craziest thing I could actually see them doing, I think. if any of the SPDs do less damage, we're gonna have worries, right? This is not like that. You can't do this, right? Like you can't. There's no way. But I'm saying this. This is a fictional scenario, right? If I listen, maybe I eat my words. I read those patch notes tomorrow, and I'm like, what? But like, there's simply no way they're going to lower the damage on SPD, right? That makes a perfect clip if I then have to. But like, that would be. Actually, no, sorry, that's not harsh. That's an insane. We'll talk about that later, I guess. But yeah, any kind of damage change to Zangief, I think would be a bad idea. Any kind of change to his offense would be a bad idea. And then something else I think that would be pretty bad. If in general, I'm gonna put this into harsh but not insane yet. Zangief level 3 is broken, right? This is one of the best supers in the game. However, I think it needs to stay this way. I think it is a very important part of the character that, like, even on defense, we talk about him having bad defense. Once he gets to 3 bars, suddenly it's a whole other ballgame, right? I think any kind of like damage lowering on level 3 is stupid. Its identity is that it's the hardest hitting super in the game, right? But any kind of damage lowering, or even like anything that makes it like, worse as like a defensive option. Like maybe it has lower range, maybe it's slower startup, maybe whatever. I think it's a bad idea, right? Keep level 3 powerful. It's also, I mean, my loyal fans, it's also one of the funnest things about the character. Like, this is one of those things where even if it was like a reasonable balance decision within reason, I think this is just like, you keep this guy's fun, right? This is why people play the character. This is the kind of thing that would like make people not have as much fun with the guy. If you want to lower his power level, do it somewhere else, right? No, don't touch level 3 in any way, shape, or form, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think that about covers it for like stuff that I think is feasible to happen, but like I don't think will be a good idea, right? I think it's the wrong, at least for what I think, it's the wrong sort of balanced philosophy for Zangief, right? And again, to summarize it mostly comes down to this like taking away strengths that are core to his identity. It's like making it less scary to block him, making it less scary to get hit by him, making it less scary to get grabbed by him, right? Once he's in, he should be scary, right? Make him worse everywhere else. Once he's in, he should be scary. You did it right in Season 2, don't change that. The headbutt nerf, I already don't agree with, don't go further down that road. Now, as far as stuff that like, I don't think it's gonna happen, but like the stuff that gets everyone making the videos like, is Zangief dead? They killed Zangief, look how they massacred my boy. Like, stuff is gonna be like, the Japanese complaining about Zangief got to them, and they said, fuck it, we just don't want this guy to be here anymore. We just don't want him here. And again, the reason these changes are not going to happen is because, one, it's the middle of a Capcom Cup season, and there's like people who are, qualified for a Capcom Cup with Zangief. And if you like really shoot him, I just feel like they wouldn't do that. Like, they'd at least wait for Season 3, right? If they really wanted to do that. And two, like, these are things that the thing I'm going to talk about are not reasonable. They're not like, they are fundamentally changing the character, right? And one that I saw, the first one I'm gonna steal from like a YouTube comment actually, that apparently some dude was talking about, and I saw someone talk about changing the startup on SPD, right? Making SPD like, instead of 5 frames, right? Making it 6 frames or 7 frames or something like that. That just not happening, right? Like, at this point, this is, by the way, the coherent part of the video is over. Like, the part where I like discuss like character design and like, like Zangief's strengths and weaknesses. Like, this is just me gonna be like talking about things like dooming that I've heard that I will be very surprised if it comes true. And you know what? Clip me if I'm wrong, but like, they're not gonna make SPD not 5 frames, right? Like, and one of the reasons for this, I guess, is that the command grabs, the 3 grapplers, are very kind of defined in how their command grabs work, right? In that Zangief, all his versions are 5 frames, but he trades, he gets more range on lighter versions, but less damage, right? And then Lily and Manon, they scale in different ways too. They have different startups. It's damage, startup, and range, and then each grappler has one of them stationary, and the two others kind of inversely vary as you go through the specials, right? So like, Zangief SPD being 5 frames is kind of its point, right? And it is very clearly designed to be 5 frames to let him punish some things he otherwise could not, right? Like, because Zangief is like intentionally designed to not have a 6 frame medium, and as a sort of band-aid on that, it's like, well, yeah, but you have a really, really good 5 frame punish, right, in SPD, right? There's a lot of things that Zangief has, like on Jin Rise or on like Scissor Kick. He has like one of the better 5 frame punishes in the game, and it feels like it would just be. There's so many matchups, so many things that are like built around the fact that Zangief is clearly balanced around being able to punish some things with SPD, or even something like let's talk even more fundamental than this, right? Let's talk about Zangief. If you block this. Oh, don't do anything on block, please, Mr. Ryu. Zangief's +2. this isn't a 50-50 if it's not 5 frames, right? Like, if this is not 5 frames, SPD just isn't a 50-50 anymore, because if it's a 6-frame button, strikes have priority over throws in this game. So if he goes this into SPD, right, then suddenly it's like, you know, hidden jab beats that shit, right? There's a lot of things like that. Like, you know, this is +2 on drive rush. That, like, doesn't work anymore if SPD is not 5 frames. Like, this will be truly outrageous. I don't see this happening. I saw someone talking about this, and like in my comments, they're like, oh yeah, like, I forget the name. They mentioned some, I believe, content creator who was like, you know, oh, I think they're gonna change the start off on SPD. I would be flabbergasted. It is such a core thing to the design of his character that it would kill the character, right? If SPD is suddenly 6 frames, and even 6, and they didn't change so much other stuff to compensate, he's like instantly just non-functional, right? Like his only mix-up becomes this headbutt, right? On a less absurd, but still, I don't think this will happen. And if they did, I think it will be way too harsh of a nerf for like a character that like is not exactly running the game by any means. Is SPD changes again, but in this case, making SPD smaller, right? Like if they like light SPD is a big one. No one is gonna lie to you and tell you that light SPD is not a fucking jump scare. It is so large in this game. Nerfing the range on that though, again, 1, it messes up a lot of his punishes, but 2, it's just like the ranges at which he can threaten SPD. Like it again fundamentally neuters the character across the board on defense, on pressure, in neutral even. Sometimes you're close enough in neutral, you're just like, well, you're in grab range, right? Like, good job. Like, you can't play neutral from this distance, you're in SPD range. So like changing the range on SPD at all, like fundamentally neuters the character in so many ways that it feels like it's an incredibly harsh change that I just don't think it's deserved at all, right? Like, I'll be like this category is like things. If I saw these in the patch notes, I go, what the fuck, Capcom? The harsh ones, I go, that's more than I would have done. I don't think that's right, but like I get it, I guess. These are like I would be a little bit flabbergasted, honestly. Like I cannot imagine these happening, and if they did, I'd be like, okay, this wants to kill. This didn't want Zangief to be active anymore. But yeah, so making SPD smaller on a similar note, horrible idea, right? A lot of these, by the way, a lot of these are going to be to SPD because this is if the previous category was like changing strengths that are fundamental to the character, right? Then this is just like literally removing things that are fundamental to the character, not tuning them down, and like making SPD like not 5 frames or making it not as big, like removes so many uses of SPD, and SPD is his core move, right? This next one you can put this in like maybe even the last category of harsh, right? But something interesting is that SPD, right? SPD is +30 on hit, right? This is not enough for Zangief to get Oki off this, like ever, basically. If you're too conservative, you're too like scared, you can like drive rush, delay knee or something and like get some Oki on you, but like it's not real. Mashing on wake up will beat any attempt for Zangief to do any sort of Oki, but he can at least like get close enough to threaten buttons with his drive rush off SPD. You can like, you know, you can SPD you and then you can drive rush and like get close enough that you are once again immediately like in the, you know, you're in the range that you don't want to be in with Zangief, right? Like you're in that range where Zangief can, you know, you're closer than you'd like to be, right? If they lowered the frame advantage on SPD, right? Like this, yeah, this I'm +1 here. I can't do anything. I can do this maybe, right? But that's not really anything. But if they lowered the frame advantage to like +25 or something like that, doesn't sound like a lot, but it means it makes going for SPD a lot less attractive, right? Because then, like as it is right now, SPD does not really reset to neutral. It definitely does reset to like, well, I guess it resets to like slightly Zangief advantage neutral, but that makes it still worthwhile to use to cash out, right? It puts you in a spot where Zangief can still sort of like try and spook you a bit. And at the very least, yeah, poke you out. If it's like round start, if you like wake up jump, he can like poke you with this for like some extra tack on damage to the SPD, right? If they made it +25 even, suddenly it's like, you know, going for SPD kind of sucks. Cause like, it doesn't actually, but like, suddenly it's like I have to be like out here, right? Or something, right? Like +4, that wouldn't be enough. If you have to +5, so like, I have to be over here, right? Like suddenly it's like, oh, like it actually fully resets to neutral when you hit someone with SPD, and that's like, it's a little bit shitty. Things that are gonna make Zangief not want to use his command grab are changes I think are horrible, right? And again, that's sort of the general gist of this category here, right? So that's why it's been 3 different SPD changes so far, right? I mean, okay. This is like I was gonna be like, oh, that's it. I think that's most of like the reasonable changes Zangief could get that I can think of, right? Or like even some unreasonable ones. I think that's mostly it. Otherwise, it would just be like general, like if they want to make like frame data like worse or better on some things, like take away some combos, right? I mean, a lot of those I guess would go into this category too of like Like if you're just gonna like make things that used to be like frame trap buttons or like 50/50s into SPD not work anymore. So like if this is like +1 now, or like this is less plus or something. All right, boys, I'm out of here. Have a good night. Yep, see ya, Snoop. Yeah, if like this is less plus or something, then like I just don't think I think that's just silly, right? But there's like a fourth tier here, I think, of just like simply I just can't imagine this will happen, right? Because they have leaned into this, they've doubled down on this on 2 patches. But I guess just to cover my bases, to just, you know, be on record, right? If somehow, if we live in the literal darkest timeline, and nothing else that I've mentioned so far, I think, well, maybe some of the SPD changes, but like nothing else would be this bad. If they just like remove headbutt health stab, like if they just like take headbutt back to like +6 on hit for some reason, okay, cool, gotcha. They just like, but that's like, of all the fucking things that didn't happen today, that didn't happen the most. Like that is, if I open up those patch notes and it says headbutt is +6, even your reasonable changes are kind of harsh for me. The reasonable changes to me are like make him worse at things he shouldn't be good at, in my opinion, right? The jump cancel SPD you could put in harsh, I think. But if they somehow, if I open up those patch notes and it says headbutt is +6 on hit now, I don't know what I'm gonna say. Right? I'm gonna have to fucking hold that shit, but like I would not believe my eyes. Like I would think like, wait, are these leaks? Like is this like some fake shit? Did someone inspect element this? Like what's the real patch notes, guys? It's not gonna happen because it's the biggest buff they gave him in season 2, and also they doubled down and made it +8 in the Terry patch. So like, there's no way. But I guess just to mention, yes, this would be the single stupidest thing they could do to Zangief, right? This goes in line. This is like the only non-SPD change that would be like just truly like a ridiculous idea, right? Yeah. I think that about covers it for potential changes to Zangief and what I think about them, right? We'll see, right? The patch, but if you're watching this video when the day it comes out, right? When do they release the patch notes? Yeah, so the patch notes, I believe I saw they were coming out 10 p.m. My time, 7 p.m. PST. I thought tomorrow. So about 24 hours from now, I think it was I read somewhere that it was the 1st of December on 7 p.m. PST, and then it'll be, you know, the actual patch goes live the day after that, right? So we'll see. Maybe nothing even as bad as like the reasonable things I said happens. Maybe they do some of the absurd shit. I don't know. I'm certainly interested. I think there's probably a little too much pessimism from what I've heard, right? People talking a little too crazy about what could happen to Zangief. Again, changing the start of SPD, like that's actually of all the things I mentioned, this is the stupidest one. They are not gonna make SPD not 5 frames. I will be truly, I don't have the words to describe how stunned I will be if that happens. That is, the headbutt health stab thing is crazy. This is the single most unlikely thing, is that SPD is not 5 frames on the second. I don't think so. So like, I think there's been a little bit too much worry. Is he gonna get nerfed? Probably. Is it gonna be crazy? I don't think so. We're all excited to see what the future holds. Yeah. Hope this is a bug fix they found somewhere I really don't like patches before tournaments. Yeah, they're not going to gut anyone in this patch. Minor changes maybe to across the board, but again, we're in the middle of the season, man. They're not going to take anyone, like, they're not, you know, no matter how good the character is, yeah, even outside of Zangief, they're not going to nerf, like, they probably know that, like, Akuma is, maybe Akuma, they might not want to nerf him because he's Akuma, right? But, like, they might know that, like, Bison is probably a little too good, there's a little bit too much damage, but, like, I don't think they're gonna change Bison at all that much, because like motherfuckers are playing for $1 million with him. Like they learned him to win $1 million. If you like mid-season go, yeah, well actually we thought Bison was too crazy, we're gonna nerf the shit out of him. I think that's a bad idea. I guess that's, you know, Cammy dive kicks. Even like, yeah, Cammy has like, you know, she's the most represented character in Capcom Cup or whatever. I don't think they're gonna nerf her, maybe not at all, but even if they did, like shooting Cammy right now would be really stupid. Like people are learning that character, putting time into her to win $1 million. Like, this is not like a fun fighting game, right? So like, I would expect minor changes across the board. Zangief might get nerfed. I think it'll be small. I do think it'll be small. Yeah, maybe Cammy gets buffed. Yeah, who knows? Maybe, right? But yeah, no one's gonna get like gutted in this patch. I'll be very surprised. And if anyone is gonna get gutted, judging by the Terry patch, it's probably most likely to be Zangief. And I don't think he's gonna get gutted. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. It might just be like one of those things where it goes like, bummer. But we just move on. Right? He's still gonna be strong. He's still gonna be Zangief. He's still gonna be fun. But yeah, that is gonna do it. Hope you had a good time with the video. We'll do just one more thing I want to talk about here. We'll do another video, I think, on stream, and then maybe tomorrow we might like cannibalize some of the Grand Blue time, talk about patch notes, depending on timing. We might like have the stream go longer. But yeah. First off, VOD watchers, hello before you go. Hope you had a good time with the video. If you did, any kind of like, subscribes, comments, bells, all that good stuff helps out a lot. You know how I'll be. I also do stream every day from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, except for Friday. So come by and hang out. If you're just if you're a Street Fighter guy, then probably Tuesday. Though tomorrow, the day you're watching this, if you're watching this right now, we might be looking at patch notes soon. Who knows? I'll have to double check the timings on things. But yeah, besides that, I also have a Discord if you want to come by and hang out, get some matches, make some friends. Link in the description there, !Discord if you're in the stream. And yeah, most importantly, hope you had a great time hanging out today, as always. I know I sure did. A bit of like a negative toned video, just like, ways they could nerf Geef. But overall, I think I probably trust Capcom to not do anything in the egregious tab. And I think like the harsh stuff, I would be surprised. I will be surprised. We'll see though. I know Japan is very not a fan of this guy. Maybe that's enough for them. For now though, having a lot of fun with Geef. Going to be a lot more coming your way. And until then, I will see you in the next one. Peace.